All right. I don't have an opening statement.
You were on CNN yesterday.
Yes, you were.
And you had said that the pundits were making a lot about the arrests going down immediately following Freddie Gray, but you said they were going up. At what point did they go up?
Over the past, I would say, 3.5 weeks, we've been seeing very positive trends when it comes to arrests in the city. The drug arrests have gone up. The gun seizures have gone up. We're seeing a lot of positive indicators that officers are engaged on every level, and the concerns that were raised, that things are turning around.
Yeah, Madam Mayor, people keep getting murdered. What do you attribute that to? Why?
So we have individuals that are violent, that don't have a respect for their lives, for the lives in the community, and they are making extremely poor choices. And there is a domino effect, because a lot of what we're seeing is retaliatory. So when you have one shooting or homicide, and then you have the group that was impacted, they retaliate, and then when that happens, then this group retaliates, and that's what we're seeing going back and forth. And we can trace the strand of violence. There are 4 major strands that are impacting the homicide rate in Baltimore. We can trace it, we can trace the players, and those are the individuals that we are focused on, because we know history tells us that the dominoes will continue to fall. We will continue to see the loss of life in our streets until we can extract these individuals off the streets. The challenge is that because of the individuals and that culture, we're not getting a lot of information to be able to bring charges against some of these individuals, even though we know that they are responsible for a lot of violence. That's why we brought in our federal partners, because they're helping us. If we can't build a case for a shooting or a homicide, they're helping us to build cases in other ways and get them off the street with federal charges, which you don't have the bail, and it gets them off the street for a longer period of time. The increase of violence that we're seeing, while we know the strands here in Baltimore, this violence and this total disregard for life is what we're seeing replicated in cities across our country. It is a horrible spike in murders, whether it's New Orleans, Milwaukee, Chicago. And what you're seeing is people that are extremely violent, extremely intentional, with unlimited access to guns and ammunition, who don't have any hesitation taking lives in our city. And that's why I keep saying, if we're working on this all day, every day. It's not a problem. It's not a problem that can be solved solely by the police. We have to be able to depend on community members coming forward with information. And when I talked about those strands, if you know someone that is involved in this, who you know are either the next victim or the next perpetrator. And if you don't want to see your loved one die in the streets, we need you to help us do something about it. Because if they're involved in these strands of violence, it's coming. It's coming. That's why the surge is so high, because it's one after the other. A lot of these, the vast majority of these individuals are known to each other. We have, I don't think there's any acceptable level of random violence, but that's very low. These are known entities that are battling it out in the streets like this is the Wild Wild West. And we need more help in getting these individuals off the street.
Do you think that their arrests are going up because police feel confident that their commanders are going to support them now?
I can't really, I haven't gotten into the heads of the officers. I'm just grateful for the results, the outcome. We're taking more guns off the street. I think last week the number of guns that we had taken off the streets year to date was exceeded what we had done last year, which is, to me, is a very positive trend.
Let's talk about guns for a second. Mm-hmm. Maryland has now enacted some of the toughest gun laws in the country. Am I correct? Would you agree with that?
I believe that is correct.
So how does that square? We have a state now that has very strong gun laws, and yet, as you just said, we continue to have easy access to, illicit activity using a gun. So how does that square?
I mean, it doesn't square. It is completely illogical that with the amount of restrictions that we have in Maryland, that we continue to have this flow of drugs. I would say that, and we've talked about this before, we have, I think, one gun store in the city. And with the number of guns that we have on the streets, we know they're not coming from that one store. And we also know that there's no wall around our city. You don't have to pass through a metal detector to get in, to drive up and down 95. This is a problem that exists outside of, this is a national problem of the access of the trade of illegal guns. And that's why, when I keep talking about a national response to the increase in violence, we can't shut our state off from individuals. We can't, put a wall around our city. We need to work in collaboration with all of the resources that can help us to stem the flow of illegal guns into the city. And that's why I've been very intentional about looking for outside resources. ATF is here, DEA, FBI, we have Secret Service, a lot of people that are helping us to get, and again, these high value targets, get them off the streets. Because again, if we can disrupt this domino effect, I think we'll see the progress that we want to see.
So was the uptick in, where are the guns coming from? What's their history? I mean, I'm sure you've asked that question. And
I don't have a specific, I can't say they're coming from, New Jersey, North Carolina. I can't say that with specificity.
So just to be clear, because New York also has very tough gun laws.
Mm-hmm.
The District of Columbia had them, and the courts have kind of, but is what you're saying, short of a national federal law that is consistent state to state to state, having one state have a tough gun law, one state have another, it doesn't do any good? I just want to be clear about what you're saying.
What I'm saying is that the current approach, the state-by-state approach, has not been effective.
Madam Mayor, there's a big national debate right now with presidential election next year over immigration.
Mm-hmm.
And I know today the board voted for money to go to Casa de Maryland to help Latinos be a part of solving crime in the McElderry Park area. Can you just talk about the role you think immigrants play in Baltimore, more specifically in preventing crime?
Well, in Baltimore, we're a city of immigrants. We have a strong history of diversity and valuing that diversity. I've made it very clear that Baltimore is a place where your immigration status is not going to be questioned by government officials. I think that we've benefited greatly from people who have chosen to make, people who've come from all over, who've chosen to make Baltimore their homes. We've benefited from job creation, and we've benefited from strengthened neighborhoods, and McElderry Park is one of those. What I also know is from talking to members of the Latino community in particular, is their sometimes reluctance to report crime. And that was an issue that they asked me to address, to look for more ways to interface with the community members, to make sure that there's trust built between the community and the police. So many of them who have felt victimized and without hope have that hope that they can live in safety.
Madam Mayor, your proposed legislation on the dogfighting paraphernalia, can you talk about that a little bit and how you think this is going to help?
I think it's going to help because there's a clear line of a clear relationship between abuse of animals and criminal activity and violence. And we continue to look for ways that we can reduce violence in the city. And it's not a singular approach. It's not just focused on guns. It's not just focused on, arrests or, focus on drug dealers. It has to be a holistic approach. And we know that, animals can't speak for themselves. And I believe it's our responsibility to continue to look for ways to protect those animals. And in doing so, we're protecting people as well, because individuals who engage in dogfighting and that type of behavior are also the ones that are engaging in other violence, shootings, homicides, and things like that. And I think it's important that we don't leave that piece of the puzzle out.
Madam Mayor, coming on the first anniversary of Horseshoe Casino opening, originally or in the early days you referred to it as an anchor institution in Baltimore. What's your assessment a year later of its successes? Do you still consider it a major part of economic development, and does it need to have any improvements? Or
I think it is very clearly a major player when it comes to economic development. All you have to do is walk out of the doors and make a circle around it. You can see the development that the Horseshoe is spurring in that community, with more to come. It's had benefits in the community. We've used the impact funds to open the first job training and placement facility that was very welcomed by community members and employers alike, that will take advantage of the revenue that is being made from the casino to train workers for jobs in that community, train workers from that community for jobs in that community. And they've also provided opportunities for Baltimore City residents. They exceeded what we expected when it comes to local hiring, and those jobs are real. So when you go there and you talk to individuals who were looking for opportunity, who wanted a way to make a way for themselves and their family, and Horseshoe provided that, they are extremely grateful. And I'm grateful that to know that I fought so hard for a project that is providing these opportunities for Baltimore families.
in terms of income to the city, it's going to be paying in ground lease the absolute minimum right now, and that's certainly, is that a disappointment to you, or do you think there's going to be an uptake, or is that just the way it's going to be?
I think, there's always a way to look at it half empty, half full. What I do know is money is coming into the city, and that money is allowing us to do what we said we would do, which is to lay the groundwork for continued property tax reduction, where money is going into our rec center capital plan, and it's also going for a school construction. And, those things are happening.
So do you think property taxes will be decreased this year? They were not decreased because of the...
Well, that's because we were ahead of schedule. We said two, and we were ahead of schedule. And, in the wake of the unrest, the fact that we didn't gave us some more funds that we could allocate to things like putting $4.2 million of additional funding for out-of-school time programming, and gave us some wiggle room to address some really pressing issues. So we are on target with my 20 by 20 plan, and I committed to continue to make that happen, and the Horseshoe allows to do that.
As your
I'm sorry.
Thank you. Did you? I am, but I can answer a question.
Okay,
You just have to get a little more aggressive.
I know. But I didn't want to jump in with this question.
I know you
because
did.
Crime. But the Hilton, your proposal
Mhm.
has been sitting in committee for about a year. I spoke with President Young on Monday in regards to his proposal to explore selling the Hilton. He has no intentions to move your proposal out of committee. Any plans, do you have any plans to rework your proposal or come back with another one, or how?
Yeah, I'm working with the council president's team. I'm talking to council members, trying to get some movement on that piece of legislation. I understand that the council president wants the city to consider selling the Hilton. The challenge is he's on that board, so he understands very clearly the financials of that deal. If you sell the hotel today, you would have a substantial prepayment penalty. The hotel could be sold, but we would take a loss. And if you're trying to put resources on the table to build community centers, to build rec centers, you can't do it by taking a loss. You have to put real dollars on the table. So I am grateful that the council president is looking for ways to maximize the value of some of the assets that we have. I just don't agree with the one that he's chosen, and I'm hopeful that that the council will move forward with the plan. I've spoken to the chair of the committee. He said that there's no way that he would hold up this hearing. He says the bill deserves to be heard, and I'm hopeful that people will hold him to it because there needs to be some discussion. I'm open if the council has a hearing, is an open public discussion, and they have experts that say, you know what, we don't think the city will make between $40 to $60 million if you sell the garages, and say, you know what, it does make more sense to pay money for upkeep of these old garages instead of building recreation centers. I'm willing to have that conversation. What we shouldn't do is hold it up and not have a public conversation when it's so important, vitally important, for the well-being of our young people and for the future of our city to continue to look for ways to improve the service delivery in our city. So I don't think not having the discussion benefits anybody.
Okay, but he said that those garages are money makers for the city. May not be a lot, but to sell them off, you would lose that income that continues to come in from those garages.
And what I'm saying is, that's a great point that we should discuss at a public hearing.
Follow up too on the hotel.
So the whole point about last question means last question.
You might want to hear this because
I
we
doubt
had your
it.
predecessor on our air yesterday.
I doubt
who
it,
said-
and I said last question, and I did give you the benefit of that. So thank you very much.